Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Home Solutions here on Mix 104.1, 101.3 The Buzz. Happy Saturday, everybody. Got some clouds and rain going in this weekend, and might be stifling some of your home improvement and DIY projects out there, but we're going to push through anyway. Dennis Purvis here in studio with you. However you're listening today, whether it's you're listening to us live as you're driving around or working this morning, maybe you're headed out to one of the hardware stores or local nurseries trying to get some last-minute things done here, getting ready for fall. Whether you're listening on 104.1, 101.3, maybe you're streaming us online, or you're on the Mix 104.1 app, or you're watching us. Say hi, everybody. Say hi, Jason. Everybody in Facebook land, good to see everybody. Dennis Purvis here with you from Pro 93 Home Solutions, and as always, if there's anything we can do for you for your home and garden, at Pro 93, we offer everything from handyman to full remodeling. We've got a clean team. Our girls will come in and take care of everything from light commercial, office cleaning to residential. We offer deep cleans, move out, construction cleanup, and recurring service as well. And remember, we're also the town's only authorized retailer of Vivint Smart Home Security Systems. So if you're thinking about that doorbell camera or those outdoor cameras, maybe some smart locks or smart thermostats, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about what we can get you set up with through Vivint. Remember, you can get a hold of us anytime at 458-4135 or online at pro93homesolutions.com. So today I wanted to do something a little different. And it's a product, the service that we're going to talk about today. Not only is the gentleman that's here with us a friend of mine, but he's also helped myself and a lot of our subcontractors and friends, family with his service. And what we want to talk about today is how to protect your home. You know, we've had some folks in here talking about home insurance. We've had home inspections. We've talked about home warranties. Today we're going to talk about something that, I looked something up, that the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical bills. And what people lose their house when they lose that one thing that you've worked so hard for, that you take so much pride in. A lot of time it's because of medical bills. So what I wanted to talk about today is bring in somebody who's an expert here locally that can talk to us about some supplemental insurance. With everything going on with the uncertainty with health care in our country, the fight over it, not knowing what's going to be there, especially with an election year, whether you're going to have certain things covered, or maybe just your premiums are getting crazy. Maybe your deductibles are just keep rising. Supplemental insurance has never made more sense. So, without further ado, I've got the lovely, the talented Jason Jones here with me with Aflac. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, Dennis. How are you?
Good to see you, man, as always. And full disclosure, Jason and I have been friends for a long time. We've worked together and with one another for a long time in different areas of our life. But, I think I don't know that I've ever seen you as passionate about something as you are about Aflac. And I got to think that's just because you've seen what it's done to people's lives.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's amazing. It's funny. One of the things that I always boast about Aflac is we're an insurance company that actually likes to pay claims. And I like for my policyholders that if they're going to spend their paycheck, part of their paycheck with me, I want to make sure that they're getting paid and that Aflac is keeping the promise that we're going to pay you. So it's funny, one of the first things I do every morning is look at my claims report to make sure that people that have filed claims with me are using the service, and if there's some paperwork missing, I really stay after them to try to make sure that we do our part to make sure that they've got money going back into their pocket. So.
And we'll get into the specifics of Aflac, but tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I know your story, but what's, where you're from originally, how long you've been here in Cleveland. You've got for the Facebook folks can see, but for your listening, you can, if you hear that just eccentricity in his voice, it's because he's got a big orange T on his shirt. So I'm assuming you're a Vol for Life VFL.
I would say that is a correct assumption.
How many games do you think you've been to in the last 10 years?
at least 7 home games a year, so probably about 70.
Whew, whew. You get it done, don't you?
Yeah, rain or shine,
Is
poor play or great play, I'm usually there.
Yeah, is this their year?
I'm not going to talk about that. I've been saying that for the last 15 years, since
Yes.
1998.
Yes, yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, man. What's your backstory?
Well, I was born and raised in Cleveland. My parents were not originally from Cleveland. My mother was originally from Iowa, and my father was from Mississippi. And they met when she lived in Florida. I think he was a traveling photographer or salesperson or something along those lines. So, and he got offered a job to work in Cleveland, and that was in 1969, I believe. And then my sister was the oldest. She was actually born in Pennsylvania while they were living there. Soon after that, they moved to Cleveland, and my brother and I were both born. He's a little bit older than me. It's interesting because at this particular time of the year, I'm 48, he's 49, and she's 50.
Wow.
So really close together there. We all three went to Bradley High School. I graduated in 1990. From there, I went to Cleveland State for a couple of years, got my 2-year degree there, and then finished up at UTC. Went straight from there, went into corporate America, and kind of found out after a couple of years I didn't really like it.
Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So in 1999, I just decided I was going to do something different. Got into the mortgage business, did that for a couple of years. Then saw a need for credit counseling and helping people with credit and credit-related issues and kind of a finance type deal, just helping them on a day-to-day basis, trying to make their finances better.
Which I believe is how we met, wasn't that?
That is correct, because I believe you were at Wells Fargo
Yeah,
at the time.
absolutely.
And so, in helping people fix errors on their credit. So I did that for a number of years, probably 11 or 12 years. I owned that company and sold it in 2014. It certainly wasn't enough money to retire off of, but I was lazy for a couple of months, and then I decided I'd better get back to work. So I met a young lady that was really doing well with Aflac and really enjoying it. I had an interview with her and the district coordinator at the time, and that was in October of 2015. So I've been with Aflac. Next month will be 5 years.
So what drew you to Aflac originally?
Well, Dennis, you and I both, in the past, we know the power of having a residual income and
Yeah.
a recurring income. And Aflac has a great compensation plan that worked for me that allowed me to still be self-employed, like I had been for so many years. But it also allowed me to have an income that was limitless, to be honest with you. Is the harder you work, the more you make. And,
Yeah.
And then I got into it, and I really started understanding when I saw people getting paid claims that were in the sometimes hundreds of dollars, sometimes it was thousands, sometimes it was tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And how it really kind of helped people keep their livelihood together. And we can share some more stories here in a little bit, but that was just kind of what attracted me to it. The income was great, but it really gave me the time freedom that I wanted, and the time freedom that even when I was self-employed, I still had employees that had to be accountable to me.
Yeah.
And I had the traditional overhead office space, copier maintenance, and I mean it was. So I'm able to run a business now with a lot of freedom. But also a good earning potential too for helping people, and it's it really is neat to see when somebody I helped a guy yesterday, as a matter of fact, of one of his policies, and it's really exciting to see when they get paid. You hate for somebody to get hurt or get sick, but Aflac pays you directly, so
it sure makes it feel a little better. It takes a little bit of that sting away when you get a check in the mail, because let me tell you this, is that you go to the doctor or the hospital, they don't send checks.
They don't send
They
checks.
expect checks.
That's correct.
Or a credit card at time of payment, maybe cash, And knowing you were coming in this week, I looked up a few things just talking about because, you know, obviously we all know the duck, you know, the Aflac duck, and that apparently now, you know, Nick Saban is trying to take over the Ducks. That's a genius marketing move, by the way.
Probably an expensive one.
I'm sure it's not cheap, but the new commercial with him in the blue blazer and, you know, welcoming them to the Aflac team, and they're obviously on campus.
Right.
Fantastic commercials, fantastic stuff. So let's talk a little bit about this. So this is recent stats as of last year. Health insurance and supplemental health insurance is the number one benefit employees ask for, period. And it's not even close. Number two isn't even close.
Right. And what's interesting to go along with that is that if someone was interviewing for a job and they had different options, a lot of times they'll take a job that pays $2 an hour less
because
for
of better
a company that offer benefits. So
84% of employees that are satisfied with their benefits report high job satisfaction.
That's correct.
I mean, I understand correlation doesn't always mean causation, but come on. We don't know 84% of our friends that love their job.
No, that's right. That's right.
You know, and 56% in the U.S. of adults with employee-offered health benefits, that was a key factor in getting them to not only take the job, but stay at the job. And, you know, I know for a long time, and Aflac has been around. I mean, people don't realize Aflac's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, about 60 years.
Yeah. And there was a lot of the times they had kind of this ubiquitous marketing campaign, but no one really knew what they did.
That's right.
And, you know, think about it. 10, 15 years ago, most of us were pretty happy with our employer-offered health plans. Deductibles were reasonable. If you were self-employed, you could get a reasonable plan with a reasonable premium. And then it ended. And then it's you know, my dad always jokes that, and no offense to you or any attorney listening, but that lawyers and insurance companies rule the world. And I'm like, yeah, I think so, because they dictate so much. And, you know, if they decide to go up, if you've got a family, do you have a choice? You know,
not really.
No, I mean, if you've got a pre-existing condition, you don't have a choice.
Because the cost of treatment, the cost of actual health care is going up as well. So.
And the thing that I think has made Aflac so good, and I'm actually going through the process right now. You know, my wife had some health issues, had to be hospitalized. I called my agent, who's sitting right next to me, and said, "Hey, she's got this particular policy. Would this be covered?" And he said, "Let me check it out." He said, "And what did you tell me?" Your idea is file the claim.
File the claim. It's not for me to decide whether they're going to.
Answer's no unless you ask, right?
That's exactly right.
But here's the thing: and the reality is that wasn't on my mind when she was in the hospital. Didn't think anything about it. Honestly, the only reason I thought about it is that I had to pay the premium for our company for our employees, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute!
Right.
I've got this." You know, so it's something that. You know, I tell this story to help Aflac folks, and I don't even mean to. But years ago, I was a teacher, and a good friend of mine, his wife had breast cancer, and he says to this day that a supplemental cancer policy that he bought through Aflac as an afterthought, didn't even want it, but he said it was too cheap to say no to.
Sure.
Right. Literally made the difference in them keeping their home, them not having to file bankruptcy. He said, you know, you don't think about a couple hundred or a couple thousand here or there, but, you know, he said that policy had so many different things as she hit different stages and different key milestones.
Right.
It paid out another chunk. And that's what's crazy is that you hear stories like that. And I know you've told me stories, and we'll talk about that here when we come back after the break. But, you know, Aflac pays directly to you, and sometimes a day or two, right?
Right, that's right.
And folks, it's something to definitely consider. I mean, I don't think it costs a thing for you to talk to anybody, right? You'll talk to anybody about it for nothing. How do they get a hold of you, Jason?
It is 423-421-3932. That is my home, office, and cell phone.
There you go. And what's a good email for you?
Business is open 24 hours a day.
What's a good email for you?
34_Jones
There you go.
at us.aflac.com.
And here's the good news: is I bet there's not a Jones is such an uncommon name. Nobody has that name, so that 34, that's just for style. That's not.
That's exactly right. So, but you had mentioned something interesting a minute ago. Is you were talking about the gentleman that had his wife had the cancer policy. So the importance of the money going directly to the family and rather than to the doctor or the hospital is that he was having to take off work too.
Yeah.
His short-term disability is not going to pay him a paycheck if he's not the one that's sick. So
absolutely,
our policies pay directly to the policyholders so that they can afford to be off work, and because especially with something as horrible as cancer, that's not something you go through by yourself.
And here's the reality is that when it's going to you and not the doctor, you have a say on to where that money goes.
Right.
That money may be buying dinner, maybe
Right.
putting groceries in there, maybe pay the light bill.
Or maybe go to the casino. I've heard stories.
Well, I know Andy, and that is a possibility. Honey, come on, let's go. Let's go try our luck. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about what Aflac offers, but also we're going to keep talking about these stories. I think these are the things that, folks, there are so many of these. I know Jason has told me stories of when you're going through some of the toughest points in your life from a medical point of view, to be able to have some sort, life insurance is great, but no one wants to be the one that has to use it. So at least this way, at least with these kind of policies, you're still around to be able to use this kind of stuff and be able to use this the services and when they pay claims. So we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the services specifically and different kind of policies, what Jason you see is kind of what's popular out there, and then what comes down to everything is price. And I can tell you, you guys will be pleasantly surprised if you sit down with him for the affordability of what they offer. So stick right around. We'll be back here in just a minute. You're listening to a special edition of Home Solutions today. Dennis Purvis will be back here in just a little bit. Mix 1041, 1013 The Buzz. Welcome back, everybody, to Home Solutions. Hope everybody's having a good, soggy Saturday morning here. Thank you for listening today on Mix 1041 and 1013 The Buzz. Dennis Purvis here in the Mix 104 studios. Jason's first time in here. It's a little different in here today, huh?
It's the first time for the new building. So
it's pretty nice in here, man.
It's a great setup.
I think you could fit the whole other station into this one studio.
I'm sure that Steve is proud that we're promoting the new office.
Listen, let's talk about Steve for just a second. Steve Hardline, the owner, the guy that, signs my paycheck, really. The guy is a phenomenal man, a hero, a legend, really, I think. I think there should rename the town. He's a philanthropist. But I will say this. If you come to Steve's office, folks, don't ask to use his personal bathroom. I mean, that is the King's Chambers. He did. That's one thing I noticed very quickly when I came to see the new office for the first time, the new studios, is Steve's got his own personal bathroom. Nice work, buddy. I mean, it's good to be the king. You do what you got to do. But no. And so today, folks, if you're just joining us, Dennis Purvis here with Home Solutions. As always, brought to you by my company, Pro 93 Home Solutions. Pro 93, we're here to help you from everything from handyman to remodeling. You can reach us at 458-4135. We'd love to talk to you. But today, I brought a good friend and my personal agent for Aflac. We're going to talk about Aflac and supplemental insurance and kind of the need for it. We talked a little bit in the first segment about kind of your background, Cleveland guy, born and raised, always been an entrepreneur, trying to find that thing that kind of gave you the freedom you wanted, but also allowed you. It's like every step you've been to, and I don't think I realized this as your friend, just sitting here listening to your story. Through you listen to your career, you've always been about helping people. And I don't even know that you think about that, but I just realized that sitting here listening to you.
It's certainly enjoyable to do so, because I've always just been a firm believer that if you help enough people get what they want, that eventually you'll get rewarded with the things that you want. So,
yeah.
If it's, whether it was previously when I was in my credit repair business and helping people, get their credit in a condition to where they could buy a house, that was always rewarding. I had a lot of great friendships and a lot of great relationships from that business. As a matter of fact, one of my Aflac customers used to be one of my credit counseling clients. So and he works for a really large company. So
Yeah.
things like that.
That works out, doesn't it? Yeah.
It tends to work out sometimes.
So you brought that up. Let's talk about how people can get Aflac. Now, I think a lot of people see the commercials, again, a ubiquitous campaign that's out there everywhere. Everybody knows the duck. They can, I think most people know they can get it through their employer, if their employer offers. And if their employer doesn't offer it, go ask them to offer it.
That's correct.
And they need to call Jason when they do. Yeah.
At 423-421-3932.
There you go. But they also can buy that individually, correct?
They can. There are some policies that they can't buy on what we would call a direct basis. One of those being short-term disability, because it's based on your pay, and they have to have an employer verification when you file a claim. So you can buy some policies direct. Most of my clients do come through a payroll situation. We do have some options for employers that don't want a payroll deduct, that we can still do it as a company benefit, and they just pay directly from we set it up just like we would a payroll account, separate comes from the employee's bank account, and they can set that up to whether they want to do that monthly or quarterly or semi-annually.
Gotcha.
So they have some flexibility there.
So let's talk about some of the policies you guys offer. I know we made mention about the story I told earlier. I know you guys have a cancer policy.
Yes.
Talk just short. I mean, I know it's kind of not something you want to get in the weeds with on a radio show, but give me kind of the elevator pitch on why that cancer policy, what it does, and why it's important for folks.
Well, it's interesting because Aflac, the way that the company got started, that's all they offered were cancer policies. And I can remember discussing with my insurance agent years ago, before I was even aware of supplemental insurance, and he mentioned something about a cancer policy, and I was like, why in the world would I buy a policy that is specific to one particular illness? It doesn't make sense to me. I thought, why don't I just buy, I've got my health insurance.
Am I buying malaria insurance next?
Yeah, exactly. But I thought, why in the world would I want to hedge my bet on one particular illness? But what I didn't realize at the time is that the cancer policies, like all Aflac policies, pay you directly. So I've had clients in the past, most recently, won't mention any names obviously, but in the past where they traveled out of state and the husband went with the wife while she was getting treated. So, and he was self-employed, so obviously his income was going to suffer from that as well, being away from work. But what most of our policies, and particularly the cancer policy, if there's a diagnosis, there's a lump sum paid out right up front before any treatment is even administered. The reason we do that is because if there is a diagnosis, then you're missing a day or two of work here and there. You're not out long enough for short-term disability to kick in. So we give that lump sum up front. That way it gives you some financial stability while you're going to different doctor's appointments and maybe missing a half a day of work, maybe missing a full day of work.
And not just that, you got travel expenses, food expenses.
That's correct.
Very few times you're going to go see an oncologist that's in your backyard in your town.
Yeah. I had one of my policyholders that was traveling back and forth to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. So, I mean, those additional travel benefits, mileage and lodging and food that particular cancer policy does offer, it really helped.
And the prevalence of cancer today, I mean, I think the thing with cancer that makes it kind of unique is that, I mean, it's a deal breaker. Not just from a medical point of view, but more than all, financial. I mean, when you still have insurance policies that until just a few years ago, literally a couple of years ago, some policies still saw chemotherapy and radiation as experimental treatment. Right. And it wasn't covered.
And we do cover experimental treatment as well.
And see, that's the thing, guys, is that it's one of those things, I have it and hope to God I never have to use it.
That's right.
But I'd rather be in that boat than need it and not have it.
We believe in our and I'm glad that so the thing that I say about cancer treatment, it seems that more and more people are surviving, which is a great thing. There's a lot of research and development that goes into those type things, and but the cost of treatment is not going down.
No, it's not going to. It's not going to.
And it's exponentially.
So it's like, great,
increasing.
your survival, but here's this bill for
Yeah.
$250,000.
Right.
Good luck.
So it just it's a terrible disease. I recently lost my father to it probably about a month and a half ago, and it's a bad thing. But the good thing that Aflac helps do, whether it's someone that's diagnosed with cancer or somebody that's heart attack or stroke, the thing is that we want to take the financial instability out of it. It's kind of like they always talk about having life insurance in place.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
It's taking the financial burden off of the people that you leave behind. So, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to be too overly dark about that, but it just, the whole thing about Aflac and the policies that we offer and the reason we send the money directly to the people is to, if there's a sickness or an accident, we want to take the financial piece out of the equation.
And speaking of financial, and I think this is the part that'll floor some people that they're listening right now, is on average, what's a weekly cost for a cancer policy?
For a cancer policy, individually, it's around $8 a week.
$8 a week.
And that covers, if you have minor children under 26, they're covered for that same price, whether you've got one child or if you've got 20 children.
Folks, just hear me out. Think about what you're going to blow $8 on this week,
Right.
and not think twice about it.
And family coverage gets up to about $13 a week.
Oh,
somewhere in the
well,
neighborhood.
now you're breaking the bank.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
$13?
I got you for that extra, what, $5.50?
No, listen, again, I think that's the thing when, and I tell my employees is, look, I know that this is important to me, and it may not be important to you, but folks, know what you're going to say no to.
That's right. That's the only thing that I ever ask is, whether you're a business owner and you're wanting to look at some benefits for your employees, because it really does help with retention, because we talked about that in the first segment. The cost of turnover per employee is $15,000 per employee.
Yeah.
So if you can do things that by offering some voluntary benefits that the employer doesn't have to pay for, then people are still grateful that the employer is offering it.
Yeah.
Whether they're contributing to it or not. So, and I'm careful about quoting prices, because the great thing about Aflac is the fact that it's completely customizable. So if you've got an employee, and I know your folks, and I know what range they get paid and so forth, but I deal with other companies that pay less. But if you've got an employee that makes $10 an hour, they probably need something customized around their $10 an hour, instead of putting them into a box with other people that may make $20 an hour.
Absolutely.
So when I give prices, I'm really cautious about that, because everything is customizable. Some of our products are based on age, most are not.
Yeah.
But also the great thing about Aflac is that our rates are guaranteed. So once you enter at a particular age group and qualification, you keep that rate. So even if you left your company and it was as a group benefit and a group rate, then you get to keep that group rate and
take it with you. It's portable.
It's portable. Yeah,
there you go.
Can take it with you. And it just, I've got a local company here that they had pretty high turnover. And they had put in a few benefits. Well, they actually offered all the benefits that Aflac had, but they decided to contribute $10 a week towards their employee stuff. Well, guess what? With their employment pool of people, they're pretty young people, pretty healthy, and so they can get like 3 policies for $10 a week. I mean, they can get a life policy and an accident policy, and maybe like a critical illness policy or a vision policy or something like that, and and not spend more than what the employer is contributing for them.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's a small account for me, but it's a great account, because every time they get a new employee, the employee says, "You're paying for benefits?"
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
So listen, folks, one more time, how do they get a hold of you?
The phone number is 423-421-3932, and the email address is j34_jones@us.aflac.com, and that US is in United States.
Well, we get back, we're going to talk a little more, just kind of run down the slate of some other products that they offer, and you've heard him mention a lot about it, but maybe I want to ask him to tell his favorite story, maybe his favorite story of somebody where Aflac made the difference. Folks, we're talking today about protecting that home and garden that you love so much here on Home Solutions. Stay right there with us. We'll be back. We're going to have a little fun here in just a little bit, playing some Mythbusters, the Duck Edition, today on Home Solutions on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. Happy Saturday. Dennis back here with you in the Mix 104 studios with Jason Jones, local Aflac agent for us here. You're listening to Home Solutions, as always. And remember, folks, if there's anything going on at your house, you need some help from a leaky toilet to maybe you want to get a new bathroom and a new deck, to get something done here before the snow gets in, give us a call. We'd love to help you out, 458-4135. But today, we're talking about how to protect that. And one of the reasons that I had Jason come in is that the number one reason people get into financial issues from bankruptcy and foreclosure is because of medical bills and medical debt. And one of the things you can do to offset that, other than just having health insurance, is supplementing your health insurance with supplemental benefits, which is Aflac is number one in the game. The duck, everybody knows the duck and the quack. So Jason is our resident quack. I've been waiting to say that this whole time. I've been saving that up for a good one. So, Jason, we've talked a little bit about cancer. Just kind of give us a quick slate. I know you've mentioned life and accident. Just give us a kind of a slate of the different types, kind of a menu of what you guys offer.
Certainly. So we offer 8 different lines of coverage. We offer short-term disability, which is your paycheck replacement. Because if you're out of work a significant amount of time, 2, 3, 4 months, you got to have a paycheck. And most companies don't give you paid time off for 2 or 3 months. Even if you've been there 20 years, it's hard for a business owner to continue to give you a paycheck if you're not there producing. So, and me as a previous small business owner, I understand where they're coming from on that. It's hard to pay somebody if they're not there. So the short-term disability is your paycheck if you're out of work for an extended period of time. We have the accident policies, and it's just like we talked about. People say, what qualifies as an accident? Ouch, that hurt. I'm going to the doctor or the hospital.
What about stepping on Legos? I have a lot of kids.
You
can stepping on Legos?
I actually dropped a ladder on my toe a couple of weeks ago, and ouch, that hurt. And I went to my friends at Direct Primary Care.
There you go.
And got checked out. They put a cast on it and put it. No, I'm kidding. They didn't put a cast on it, but they were great. So with the accident. But the accident policies, if it's something more serious where you're put in the hospital, there is a hospital confinement benefit built into that gives you some extra dollars. We talked about the cancer policies and how rich in benefit they are. There's no cap on the dollar amount that it pays out. Gotcha. So that's fantastic. Kids are covered for free under that. We've also have life insurance.
There you go.
And this is something really big that Aflac came out with about a year ago. And this does have to be done through your company on this particular one, but we have a guaranteed issue policy, meaning that if there's enough participation within the group, because we've got to have people participate in order to make a guaranteed issue type product, but it doesn't require any medical exams. It doesn't. So even if you have a pre-existing health issue,
let me hang on. Jason's going to give you a lot of different things. But as the resident fat guy in the room, let me just tell you, there's no sweeter words than guaranteed issue life insurance. So if you've got, I don't care if you're diabetic, you've got issues. I think it was it was like 3 or 4 questions. It's not like they're not doing a medical history.
That is correct, and there's no medical exams, and there's some limitations on the dollar amounts and so forth. So,
but still,
talk to me specifically about that. That's a very general, broad statement. And it does have to be done through the employer, like with your company. Yeah. You had enough participation that it worked out that way. But it's a great thing to have because, sometimes we don't think about our own situation until there is a situation.
Yeah.
So being able to get some life insurance to
So I got 4. You said
Okay.
there's 8.
vision and dental.
Okay, there's
Those
6,
are
5 and 6.
They're somewhat self-explanatory. We have a critical illness policy,
There you go.
which in the South we call it your kicking parts. If something goes wrong with your kicking parts, your ticker, your brain, then there's some coverage for that. And then,
Uh-oh.
what am I missing? This might be
See, we did accident,
short-term
disability, life, cancer, critical illness,
vision, dental.
vision, dental, and dum. This is going to kill you too.
We're gonna have to edit this part out.
Nope, it's staying in. It's staying in. It's staying in. All right, so a lot of different things, and I told you, asked you, we got just a few minutes here before our break, but give everybody a quick story where your favorite story so far in 5 years of doing Aflac, where Aflac made a difference.
There's a lot. There was one claim that I filed that I was asked not to file it because they didn't think that it would go through. They
Asked by the
policyholder.
Okay.
Just said, I don't think that pertains. We filed the claim anyway, and to date, for me, it was the largest claim that I've ever seen paid for my own personal policyholders. And the family was very thankful because it was a very, very significant amount of money. And we just didn't think it was going to pay because it was something that happened that kind of, wasn't sure if it was going to be covered or not, but it did pay. But the most fitting story that I've had, there's really 2, but I'm going to keep it to 1 for the sake of time, is that there was a gentleman that fell on the job. It was a very painful injury, but it's normally not life-threatening. It involves some broken bones, but it ended up puncturing an organ, and, it just... So what ended up happening, because it was on the job, obviously workers' compensation took care of the paycheck part of it up to a certain percentage. The workers' comp also took care of the medical bills, but the guy was in the hospital and he was out of work, I think he was out of work a total of about 15 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. But because workers' compensation was only paying him 50 or 60% or whatever that policy was, just on the accident policy alone, it paid him enough over those 15 weeks that he was out that it almost identically matched what he would have got paid if he was working.
And they got paid directly to him.
And it got paid directly to him.
Sheesh.
And so
all that happened, and it was almost like he didn't miss work.
That's correct. And his medical bills were being taken care of by the workers' comp. So the conversation I had with him was, he said, Jason, he said, if I wouldn't have had Aflac, he said, I'd have been sunk. He said, I wouldn't have been able to pay. I don't remember if he rented or was a homeowner, but either way, he had some kind of housing expense. He said, I would have been homeless if it would not have been for the money that Aflac paid. And I've got tons of those stories, but that's the one that just hits home with me because it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It's kind of a stopgap. So you put that money into your budget to where you take the financial stress out of
the other stress in your life that's already going on. And folks, and that's one of the reasons stories like that is why I wanted to have you on today is, we spend so much time, especially these days in our homes, the thought of not having that and not having that roof over our heads for something we didn't choose, for something that maybe it's genetics, maybe it's heredity, maybe there's an accident that was not your fault, obviously. But just because you got sick, just because, we're the greatest country in the world, man, and then for some people to have to lose their house because they got sick, it just breaks my heart. And we work so hard. My business depends on people wanting to make their houses better, and to think that somebody could lose it because of something like that, it just, Aflac just makes sense. Yeah. And how do they get a hold of you if anybody's interested?
It is 423-421-3932, and the email address is j34_jones@us.aflac.com. And it's the hospital policy that I missed.
Hospital, there it is.
So there's number 8.
I knew you were going to get it. And when we come back, listen, it's that time, folks. We're getting close to the top of the hour here. It's time for today's edition of Mythbusters. duck addiction. Am I going to get sued if I do the quack? Is that a trade? Is quacking now trademarked?
I'm not
Affleck's
sure.
big, man. I don't want to get sued. I don't want Nick Saban knocking on my door to sue me. We come back. We're going to play a little Mythbusters. Jason has no idea what I'm going to ask him, and I can't wait. You're listening to Home Solutions right here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz. Welcome back, everybody. Getting close to the top of the hour here in the Mix 104 studios here. Dennis Purvis with you for another edition of Home Solutions. We're wrapping it up today. We've been talking with a friend of mine and Jason Jones from Aflac, our local Aflac dealer right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. Jason's given us a bunch of different stories today of how having some extra protection for your medical can really make the difference in your life and hopefully help save your home. But that's all out the window now because it's game time. You know it, folks. Got about 5 minutes to play Mythbusters Quack Edition. Myth number one. It's very simple, Jason. You're going to tell me if these myths are confirmed, which I know they are because I've got such reliable sources, or if it's busted. Busted. Myth number one. You know, Jason, I've sat here listening to you, and you're a friend of mine, so this breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Here we go.
But I have it on a reliable source from a guy I know from Big Tom's right up the road. He's not actually from Big Tom's, but a guy in Big Tom's knows him, and his babysitter's mama told him. That Aflac, all those supplemental, that's just a scam. They don't never pay no claims. Supplemental insurance is bogus because they never pay out. What say you?
I would say that we're going to bust that myth.
I don't know. With that kind of sourcing?
You got to file the claim for the claim to pay.
Oh, well, that might be where she missed it. Might be where she missed it. You can't just get it through osmosis or some sort of ESP. Is that covered? Is there any sort of telepathic coverage through Aflac?
The COVID's covered.
All right. Myth number two. Myth number two. People don't really need supplemental insurance because it's so expensive.
Busted.
Busted? Busted. Why? Why? Tell me why.
Because you can pick your price.
You literally can pick your price?
You can customize your own price.
See, that's not fair. Aflac's. Why is Aflac? Okay. Maybe that's the thing is that you'd think with all the money they got to be paying Nick Saban and that duck. Is that not the have you met the duck? That's all I need to know. That's another. We're going to take a hiatus here. Have you met the duck?
I've got ducks at the house.
Is he as cool as he looks like? I mean, first of all, is it a he? You don't know?
Whatever he wants to be.
I think you should be a little more forthcoming about the duck. Listen, the duck is the company, man. Come on. I mean, that's what we're all remember. Myth number three. Supplemental insurance doesn't really save you any money. Busted? But you're paying, insurance companies, they got to make money somehow, man. You're paying all this money. They're not really going to pay, and you're going to pay way more than you're ever going to get, right?
No.
Oh,
not true.
Again.
We like to pay claims, and we are just a financially strong company that if we spent 100% of everything we collected in premiums, we would still be just fine.
To be serious for a second, you think about the ubiquity of their ad campaigns, especially in college football time. That's the one thing is that without college football, where would the duck be? Where Nick Saban would have so much more free time to do commercials. But it's, folks, they got to be doing something right. Number one, you don't have the money to spend on that kind of advertising without making people happy to keep buying plans.
That's correct. And that's the reason I like helping people file claims so that they keep their plans.
Yeah, there you go. Because, I think what would you, if somebody files a claim and keeps it, they're never going to go without it, right?
I would think that was a fair assessment.
Yeah.
But if you have to keep filing claims on your car insurance, it means you're a really bad driver, and you might get dropped anyway.
All right, last one here. Last one. Are you ready?
Ready.
Supplemental insurance isn't as important as health insurance.
Man, they're both pretty important.
Oh, so kind of
they're both pretty,
maybe
they're both pretty important because they honestly, Dennis, I know I say that's a trick question, but
yeah, it is.
They're both equally important because one pays the doctor,
yeah,
and one pays you.
I like the ones that pay me better.
Well, I understand. And, I make a joke all the time. I tell people, I said, you can leave the hospital without paying, but you can't leave the grocery store without paying. Or you go to jail.
Yeah.
So you can leave
just run that on my tab, Aldi. Hey, Walmart, just, get you next week. I'll get you. Just send that bill to my house.
Put it on the cuff.
Can I pay in stamps? Yeah, it's, again, it's supplemental, but it's more complementary, I think, than just supplemental. Yeah, and they work off one another. And I think that's a big distinction is if you don't hear anything else Jason says today, I think two things that I'd want to get across is it's so affordable, right? And the second thing is, folks, they pay you directly. This isn't going through a doctor, through a medical office, through a hospital to get to you. It's going from them to you. And I know this because we're in the middle of starting a claim in my household, and it was literally you sign up for direct deposit to make it. They even tell you, hey, if you'll go ahead and go ahead and put your bank account in, it'll be even quicker.
That's right.
And the ease, the app, I can forget what it's called now. Quick claim, speedy claim,
smart claim,
something like. Yeah, I knew it was something expeditious. But it's you basically load your documents, send it in, and they get back to you within 24 to 48 hours.
That's correct.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Folks, give it a shot. If you're a business owner out there and you're thinking, hey, how can I hang on to some people? I'm tired of turnover. Give Jason a call. Let him come in and talk to you about this. I can tell you from experience, there's zero cost to me as an employer for offering this.
Right.
It doesn't cost me a dime to offer this to our folks. So give them a shot. And even if you just individuals, if you're not working, maybe you're self-employed and you're looking for some extra stuff, give him a call on that too. There's several of those policies he can sell direct. How do they get a hold of you? One more time, Jason.
It's Jason Jones, 423-421-3932. Email address is j34_jones@us.aflac.com.
Brother, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, man. Listen, everybody, have a great week. Stay safe. Wear your mask. If not for you, it's for everybody else. Love one another. Be good to one another. Stay safe. Love you guys. See you next Saturday. You've been listening to Home Solutions right here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz.